Welcome to the Beyond Jiu Jitsu podcast, episode number 39. I'm your co-host, Kieren Lefebvre, a white belt under Adam Childs, owner, operator, and master of Alliance Jiu Jitsu, Rose Bay.
What's up, brah?
Yo, yo.
How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. It is a Tuesday at the time of this recording.
And you're already wrecked from one day of training.
Yeah, I am feeling a bit tender, but I was saying to you off air, I don't think I've fully recovered from last week of training. That was a heavy week of training for me. Whoa.
Yeah, like you did Thursday, train quite a lot last week.
Yeah, by Thursday I was cooked.
You should probably do some cold shower, water therapy.
Yeah. If only there was a place I could learn about that.
I think there's a podcast that did an episode like, I don't know, Joe Rogan or something.
JRE?
Yeah.
And then now we've just lost 25% of our listeners. But if you're tuning in for the first time, we are the Beyond Jiu Jitsu podcast. We talk about everything Jiu Jitsu and beyond. And today we are talking about supplements for Jiu Jitsu. Now, if you're sitting there thinking or walking, I don't know, listening to this podcast, whatever you're doing, and you're thinking, hang on a minute, these are jiu-jitsu guys. What do they know about supplements? Well, I'm an ISSN recognized sports nutrition specialist. So I know a thing or two about supplements, and I've also been in the bodybuilding world, if you will. So we're not talking about spicy supplements. We're talking about, regulated, legal.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Because what was it? I think episode 24, we spoke about steroids.
Yeah.
So we're not talking about steroids today. I mean, maybe we'll get there.
Probably.
There'll be some crossover, but, what we mean by supplements are what you can legally take. There's sort of, can be a broader term, but I guess to the average person, you think supplements, what you can go and buy from like what would you call it? Like a supplement shop.
Yeah, supplement store. I think the big one in America is called GNC.
GNC is quite a big one.
ASN is pretty popular in Australia, supplement warehouse. But anyway, I could talk about a little bit for more the Australian listeners where I recommend sourcing supplements at the end. I didn't actually have that on my agenda. But
well, they can get quite I think it'll be like when we did the nutrition episode. It's a bit of a role reversal. We've got this is more your area of expertise. I don't really know anything about supplements, right? Yeah. Other than what I've sort of experimented with through my career or what I take. Or
that because this is a role reversal, I know nothing about jiu-jitsu?
It's your words, bro.
Your words, not mine.
But, there's various different things you can take and, and even I believe in the supplement nutrition world, whatever. You'd read one paper that could say one thing and one that would say another.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah, definitely.
But I think the average person is aware of protein powder and creatine. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's a good place to start.
Yeah. So what would you, as someone who knows nothing about supplements, let's say, we're not going into dietary requirements. So we're not talking like, you need to take this because you have an iron deficiency. We're assuming blah, blah, blah. Yeah. We're assuming that the person is whatever of average age and health and everything.
Yep.
But they're just wanting, something more. Firstly, what's the main reason to even take supplements? Do you want to boost in your training? Do you need better recovery? Like what gets you to that point for you to even think it's worth my money? Like I need supplements because
X, Y, Z, yeah. So we're going to keep this episode geared around athletic performance for jiu-jitsu. So I have created
Exactly, because, it'd be different if you're going to take different supplements if you wanted to gain muscle mass for bodybuilding, right? So we're speaking to a jiu-jitsu podcast,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, speaking to the jiu-jitsu audience, which is everyone today. Yeah. Effectively, a good place to start is talking about why we supplement. So effectively, you're looking at supplementing what you're not getting from your diet. Supplements are not a band-aid for a shit diet. That's not what we're talking about. If you're consuming a shit diet, you need to take a couple steps back and look at addressing those things first. The reason that supplements is a multi-billion dollar industry is because people are generally trying to avoid the shit that's hard. It's hard to eat a healthy diet and get your nutrients from your diet. The reason it's hard is because you're doing that. If you look at it in the context of you train jiu-jitsu once per day for an hour, right? 23 hours of the day, including your sleep, you need to be focused on eating the right thing. For that 1 hour, you just train, right? So by spending all your money on supplements, what people do in their own worlds, in their own little world is, oh, it's okay that I eat shit because I'm taking this protein powder. It's okay that I'm smashing takeout, 4 or 5 times a week or what have you, because I'm supplementing with creatine.
Why are you pointing at me so aggressively when you say no? So just before we, I just want to circle back to something before we get too down the conversation. I mean, yeah, as the name suggests, it's to supplement things that you're not getting.
Yes.
So is the reason that you have professional athletes, let's say, they've got everything. It's a professional athlete who has a personal chef and they follow, the strictest of strict nutrition programs and dietary requirements and all this sort of stuff. They would still take supplements. Is that because they're performing at a physical level that is not what nature can give you? They're trying to ask more from the body than it's like typically supposed to do, because you could have someone who, man, like you couldn't eat cleaner than this human being. Like I said, they've got a personal chef. They do everything right, but they're still going to take supplements.
Yes, they
Is
will.
it because they're pushing the limits, right?
Some things you can't get from food, like creatine. You can get, before the scientifically minded people jump through the world of the internet and throttle me, you can get creatine from food. It is naturally occurring. You cannot get it at the level that you need to be saturated. In terms of protein.
There's plenty of things that are naturally occurring or our body naturally makes, but
you can't get you're not getting the full potential.
Yeah. Like even talking about steroids or whatever, like your body naturally produces testosterone, but there's people who take testosterone because not as a taking a legal.
Oh, you're talking about testosterone replacement therapy.
Well,
TRT.
Some people take it for medical reasons.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not even being an athlete. It's not just because it's something that occurs naturally or is produced naturally that it's at the levels that you need.
Exactly. And even an athlete that has a personal chef, they would probably benefit from things even like a multivitamin powder or something like that. Yep. And it can be an insurance policy, and it can be the 1%ers that matter. Because if you're talking about the best athletes in the world, like the number 1 and the number 2 person, then that 1%,
like
in
a
every
0.01
area,
of something can be a win or a loss.
And 1%ers across all domains adds up over time. It accumulates, and all of a sudden you're the better athlete. Yeah.
So then, what's the it's to supplement things you aren't getting from your diet. Yeah. So, but then, more than that, is it recovery? Is it performance, or is it both?
It's all. So I've broken the list that I'm going to go through. I have a whole bunch of supplements. So this may be an episode that you want to revisit and perhaps take notes on.
Get a pen and paper?
Yeah, take some notes.
Because even for me, as someone who's doesn't have any degree in this sort of area, I can at least speak of the supplements that I've felt I feel the best when I take or whatever,
Yeah, and that's we'll talk about that and how to implement supplements as well. But I've basically broken down all the supplements into 4 categories, which is muscle, performance, recovery, and joint health. So we'll start with muscle because that's
the only one people care about.
Exactly. That's the sexiest one. That's one people are more interested in, right? Like, how do I get jacked, son?
And for each of these categories, does the supplement change for whether it's performance or recovery?
Yeah. So I've got different supplements for all 4 categories, and each category I've selected the 3 most bang for your buck, the 3 most scientifically proven, etc. So there's so many supplements out there that would fall into these categories, and you may be thinking, if you are, maybe you do know of a supplement, like, why didn't he mention that? If it's not on the list, it doesn't mean it's not effective. It just means it's not cost effective, because there's some supplements out there that cost just way too much money for the very minor improvement that you're going to get.
That 1%.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And unless you are a professional athlete operating at the top tier, you don't really need to be fucking around with these.
Man, it's super complicated. Like, I'll be interested to hear just that sort of general, man, for
Don't
muscle,
worry about
get
this.
this
Yep.
or get this or get this.
Yeah.
Because when, I had a friend refer to me, this was before we met, say, oh man, if you're getting protein powder or whatever, get it from this website, it's good quality products and it's, good value for money, blah, blah, blah. I can't even remember what the site was. And I went onto the site and I was like, I was like, dude, there's
things.
800 different types of protein powder.
Yes. And we're going to talk about
I don't
that.
know,
Yeah.
man, come on. I don't,
Yeah.
you haven't
lost
helped
me.
me at all,
Yeah. Yeah, here's a site. Pick from the top 5 of 1,000. Yeah. So for muscle category, right? When I'm talking muscle, I'm talking, this does cross over a little bit with recovery, but we're more talking like muscle building, muscle repair, okay? So the first supplement, and this is when I was a personal trainer, I created my brand was called RTC Fitness, and I created the RTC Fitness hierarchy of supplements. And this supplement was like on the top tier. This is what I consider, and for years I've considered the most important supplement. If you're going to take one thing, and if you get nothing else from this podcast, take this away.
Is this still stands to today?
This still stands for today. If you get nothing from this is what you need to pay attention to. Creatine. Take creatine. Everyone should be taking creatine. I recommend my mum that doesn't really exercise all that often, apart from walks and what mums do. I recommend that she takes creatine.
So give us for those who don't know. I'll pretend I don't know. Not going into too scientific mumble jumble.
Oh, we will.
What is?
Let's simplify it.
Give us the super simple. Explain explain like I'm 5.
Yeah. So
what is creatine? What does it do?
Creatine is naturally occurring, and you can get it from food. You predominantly find it in red meat. So you have it in your muscles, right?
Yeah.
However, as we mentioned in the outset, you don't have enough creatine in your body to be what's known as, colloquially known as creatine saturated, right? So the goal is to get your muscles to a level where they're considered saturated with creatine. So creatine is what it does in your body, and what bro science and bro lifters understand about it, to explain it that way, and then we can get into the science if you want, is it enables...
I don't want.
Okay. Imagine the best way to explain it using an analogy is if you were doing a bench press and you had 80 kilos on the bench press, or around 200 pounds-ish on the bench press, and normally you can get out 8 reps. If you supplement with creatine, maybe you'll be able to get out 9 reps, an additional rep at your end range. The reason for that is because there is different energy systems in your body.
Mm-hmm.
The phosphocreatine energy system is one of the energy systems in your body, and it operates at around that 30-second-ish mark, meaning if you went for 100% sprint, you sprinted as hard as you can, it would be able to fuel that sprint for about 15 to 30 seconds max. Right?
And so this is an energy system that is energy to your muscles.
Yes, because whenever you do anything, even when I'm gesticulating and moving my hand around or talking, I'm utilizing energy. And in the body, the currency for energy is called ATP.
Right.
So ATP is your energy currency molecule. What creatine or the phosphocreatine system does is it replenishes ATP, right?
Okay.
So all of your energy systems in the body are designed to replenish ATP, because ATP, again, I'm trying to avoid science too heavy, but ATP, just think about it like energy. It gives you energy. So it enables you to move.
It's your fuel gauge on your car.
Exactly. It's your fuel gauge on your car.
Right.
So creatine increases that fuel gauge for that 30-second range of maximum output. So again, you'll be able to get 9 reps on the bench press instead of 8.
Okay.
Creatine also can increase your power output and increase your time to fatigue. So that's it in a nutshell.
So then I think that's a good explanation. And then because
Sorry about that. We had a fire alarm test at the studio.
Kieren has still not learnt how to cook toast. No.
No, but as I was saying, so it just gives you creatine just gives you more energy at your maximum output.
So just before we move on to the next supplement, I think that's a nice, quick, concise way to go over that, because I'm looking across the table at your list of notes, and I know that I could sit here and you could talk for 20 minutes about creatine.
I could.
And we're never going to
have before.
Yeah. So just before we move on to the next one, a couple of need to know things with creatine. One, I believe I already know, which is that it is also, I'm not saying take a whole tub of creatine, but I believe it's a supplement that if you take too much of it, you just like urinate it out, right? It's not a supplement that, I mean, I'm not saying, don't pay attention to your dosage, but from what I've been told, it is a supplement that it's like, oh man, if your daily intake should be 2 scoops a day and you take 2.5, like it doesn't matter. Like,
to an extent, it doesn't really matter. So one thing to note though, if you are supplementing with creatine, you'll have, if you do get your blood work done, you may have elevated levels of creatinine in your blood. And, it can be cause for alarm for your doctor. They'll be like, oh, you got elevated levels of this. If that ever happens to you, just say, supplement with creatine. And it's completely fine. Right. Any doctor that's in the know will be like, oh, okay, yep, that's normal then. And it's not unhealthy. It is the most well-researched supplement on the market, on any supplement market, the most well-researched. There are hundreds of peer-reviewed studies, like gold standard studies done on creatine, and it's unequivocal that it increases athletic performance for 99.9% of the population.
And I don't know if this is, just inaccurate information I was given or whatnot. Yeah, but I've heard as well that it's also a supplement that you don't really benefit from if you don't take it consistently.
Absolutely.
Like you kind of essentially have to take it every day.
So I've alluded to it a couple of times, this concept known as creatine saturation. So it is not dose dependent, meaning, time dependent dosage. So it doesn't matter what time of day you take creatine. You can take it at the same time every day, different time every day. It doesn't matter if you take it before workout, during workout, or after workout. It has nothing to do with taking it around your workout. It is not. It's nothing like that.
It's just wanting to consistently top up your fuel tank.
Exactly.
So it's like putting like 5 liters in a day every day, opposed to wait until you're empty and then needing to fully.
So
replenish.
it takes a few weeks as well to get to the point where it's going to benefit you. You're not going to take creatine once and all of a sudden be able to beat your 1 rep max on the bench press. That's not how it works. You need to, over time, saturate your muscles with creatine. There's also only a certain amount of creatine that you can absorb at a given time. Okay.
Yep.
So
is it something that you take, like, do you take once a day or twice a day?
Well, ideally you'd break it up into 3 or 4 times per day.
Who's got time for that?
Exactly. So I just dose it one go. I used to do it dose it correctly. There are some people that say you can only absorb 1 gram of creatine at a given time. I haven't really seen that too much replicated in the literature. So basically 5 grams is the gold standard for most people. If you're a particularly large human, if you're a solid, 120 kilo person, you might need a bit more, or maybe up around that 10 grams per day. Yep. But generally speaking, for just about everyone, 5 grams per day of creatine is good to go. How do you take it? Just put it in water. It absorbs in water, mix it up, make sure you drink it all. You're good to go. If you want to go that extra mile, take it around carbohydrates, because carbohydrates and benefit when you take creatine with carbohydrate, you absorb it a little bit more easily. So you can absorb the creatine more easily. Now, if you do your research in creatine, you may see, what about creatine loading? Do I need to load creatine? And for those that don't know, this concept is pretty simple. It means that for the first 4 or so days of you taking creatine, you'll take about 20 grams. And then after that, you'll take 10 grams for about a week. And then you'll be on your maintenance dose of 5 grams. I'm saying to you, don't worry about it unless you're peaking for an event or something like that. Just don't worry about it. Just take 5 grams per day and allow your body to naturally load or become saturated with creatine. There's also, sorry, go on.
Sorry, I was just going to, the one last thing I wanted to ask about creatine is there a particular I mean, this
Yes.
might just be Australia relevant, or I'm not sure, but is there a particular brand, or like, is there
Yes.
something you need to, when you're someone listening, they're like, cool, I'm going to get creatine. All right. You're like, there's again, a million different creatines.
There is a million different
which one do you
creatines.
buy?
So there's so many different forms of creatine out on the market. And the most common, you're going to find creatine monohydrate, micronized creatine, and creatine ester. So creatine ester is by far the most expensive. There's less research done on it, but apparently it is slightly better than the other two, apparently.
Yeah, off the table. I don't trust it.
Yeah. So
chemtrails.
Well, yeah. Yeah. So I personally wouldn't recommend going out and getting creatine ester. It's just more expensive. There's not as much solid research. So why bother? Yeah, good point. Micronized creatine it absorbs in water a little bit more easily. So it's going through an additional chemical process to make it micronized. So micronized creatine is considered a little bit more easily absorbed. But again, it is much more expensive and there's way less research done on it.
Right.
Creatine monohydrate, on the other hand, is, in my opinion, the gold standard of creatine because all of the research pretty much that has been done on creatine has been done with creatine monohydrate. So it is the most robustly researched. It's the cheapest. Creatine is a very, very cheap supplement.
It is compared to some other supplements.
Oh man, it is the cheapest, most well-researched supplement on the market. It's a no-brainer, right?
And it's all powder, right? You never get it in pills or anything.
Well, you can get it in pills, but just stick with the powder.
Yeah.
So
creatine, monohydrate, powder, take it every day.
And to go that one next step, you want to be looking for a copyrighted form of creatine called Krea Pure. It's made in Germany. So many different supplement brands use Krea Pure. It is a little bit more expensive, but cheaper than ester and micronized, and it's worth the money in my opinion. So look for Krea Pure. It's not going to be a brand. It's going to be the type of creatine on the brand. For example, a popular brand in Australia and becoming internationally now is called ATP Science. They're very high quality. They utilize Krea Pure. And I think Gentech as well, another supplement brand, they also utilize Krea Pure. Those are the two off the top of my head, but you can find plenty. And if you can't find them or you don't really give a shit, just get creatine monohydrate, you're good to go.
Yep. All right, creatine. Next.
Okay, so the next supplement under muscle is...
We're still on muscle.
We're still on muscle, man. We got two more.
All right.
We have protein powders.
Protein powder.
Caveat before I begin though. The nutritionist in me hates that I've included this on a supplement list because it is a food source. Protein powder is a food source. It's not a supplement. However, I'm appealing to the common denominator here. I'm appealing to the general population, the general jits person that's like, shut up, dude. Just fucking get to the point. Let's include it.
Let's keep protein powder super quick.
Okay.
And because
here's all you need to know about protein powder.
Again, you could do a whole episode on protein powder.
I could do a whole episode on creatine.
Yeah. So let's keep protein powder super simple.
So here's what you need to know. The reason that we supplement with protein powder or we utilize protein powder is because it is an easy, convenient way to get your protein.
Yes.
Do you need protein powder? No, absolutely not. If you are working with a nutritionist and you're following their nutrition plan and it just so happens to not be utilizing protein powder as a protein source, then you shouldn't be supplementing on top with protein.
Because it's a food
It's a food source. It's literally a food. It is food, right? Yeah. It's just in a powdered form. Yeah. So that's how I view it and how a lot of nutrition specialists view it is it's a food source. Now, the reason that we utilize protein powder is because it is some of the most highest quality protein you can get. So why wouldn't you just have nothing but protein powder? Well, you're missing out on a lot of things that food gives you, right? Like different nutrients and the list goes on. The list goes on, right?
And one of the other reasons I believe is because the whole that this is probably more bodybuilding applicable, I believe, that whole... you've got that 30-minute window post-workout to get protein into you or whatever.
It's known as the metabolic window, and it's a myth.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's straight up a myth.
Well, let's imagine it's not a myth for a second. I guess one of the reasons that people lean towards protein powder as well is post-workout. It's way easier to slam down a shake 100%. When you're dehydrated than to think you're going to sit down and eat a meal.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So I'm not gonna go into the rabbit hole of metabolic window. If you're curious about that, submit a question to the show and I'll address it. But yeah, that's exactly it. Post-workout, it's convenient and you can have very fast releasing protein or fast absorbing protein, and coupled with a simple carbohydrate source, it actually can be very beneficial for muscle repair and recovery. So protein powders. There are 3 predominant protein powders that you'll find on the market. There's so many different forms, but the 3 different categories that you'll most commonly find, there are more, but these are the common ones, is WPI, WPC, and casein. WPI is an acronym and it stands for whey protein isolate. WPC, also acronym, whey protein concentrate. These are the 2 most common you'll find. Most protein powders are WPC. Now, all it means is WPC has a little bit less protein, a little bit more filler product like carbohydrate and fats than WPI. WPI is a double chemically filtered, highly concentrated form of protein. However, it is more expensive. So Adam's going to sneeze. No, he didn't. I muted him.
I'm good. I was like about to. Did that whole like looked up at the light being like, but no, lost it.
Cool. So that's WPC, WPI. Now, casein is a different form of whey protein, right? So just quickly, the way that protein is created is a byproduct, taking the byproduct from milk, right?
Most of them, yeah. Obviously, there's
there's pea proteins, there's vegan proteins, there's hemp proteins, whatever. I'm talking about dairy-based proteins, okay? So they take milk, and 40% of the product from milk is whey, 60% is casein. Casein are larger protein molecules. We're talking about protein molecules here. You got whey and casein.
Yep.
Casein are larger protein molecules, so it takes longer for your body to break them down, digest and absorb and utilize the amino acids. Yeah, colloquially slow releasing, which it is. So don't worry about casein, in my opinion, unless you know what you're doing and you're utilizing it strategically for a slow release of protein, or some people that are bulking recommend casein. Look,
otherwise stick to the first.
Just stick with WPC, WPI. Now the difference between the 2, if you can afford WPI, buy WPI. If you can't, get WPC. Okay, that's it.
Cool. And then, so the majority of people aren't following a strict nutrition program.
Yeah.
They're probably not getting the amount of protein.
Yeah, I recommend it.
So
only one a day. Yeah. Like after just honestly, my advice, if your diet's okay, but you're not following a specific nutrition plan, counting your macros and things like that, just have a protein shake either before or after your exercise. Just time it around there. If you're not working out, don't worry about taking it. Like, I know I said that there's no metabolic window, but it is still beneficial. Okay. And if you want to go that extra mile, have it with a piece of fruit as well. Like, for example, So when a fast release protein is coupled with a fast release carbohydrate, it's kind of like they complement each other. The carbohydrate helps the protein shuttle into your muscles.
Right. Yeah, right. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Could that go could you then, this might be a stupid question, but does that work the same as if you just, when you have your protein shake, you're like, yeah, sick, I chuck it in a blender with a banana.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. That's the best way to have it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
That's why they do it.
Now, more importantly, what is the best flavor protein?
Oh, man. It depends on what you're going to, if you're going to have it. You asked a stupid question. I'm like, okay, let's break this down. But if I'm having it in yogurt, vanilla, definitely vanilla. If I'm having it in a shake, chocolate.
Yeah. Yeah. It depends what you're doing with it, right?
100%.
You've got to, usually chocolate's the go-to.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're making a protein cheesecake or something, I know we've spoken off air about
vanilla.
all those little, then you go vanilla. Although, 100%. Man, I did when I lived in Canada, it was actually, because when I was much younger, I, would have protein powder with milk, because I'd be like, I'm making a chocolate milkshake or whatever.
Hectic.
But then you get,
good way to have it.
You get used to having it with water. But at that time, I wasn't if I had a chocolate protein shake with water, I was like, it's like watered down chocolate milk. It's gross, right? When I was younger. Yeah. So I got a tropical fruit punch one or something.
Oh, no.
Dude, it was so good.
Oh,
I remember, and I bought this
those fruity flavors.
I brought this, I don't know what it would have been, a 10 kilo tub of it. It was freaking huge, man. I liked it. It was good. It was there was this shop in Canada. It was actually this supplement shop that I met BJ Penn at.
Oh, no way. Shit. Really?
Yeah, and he upsold me. No, he didn't. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Protein powder.
So the next we're going to talk about EAAs, which is
Never
essential amino
Oh,
acids.
yes.
So you would have heard of BCAAs, right? Branch chain amino acids.
Which some people take instead of protein powder,
Which is
right?
a bad idea. Now, BCAAs are actually, they have their place. To say that they're completely useless is a bit of an exaggeration, but they're completely useless. Okay, so branch chain amino acids, the most. Okay, so when we're talking branch chain amino acids, we're talking about isolating 3 different amino acids: valine, leucine, and isoleucine. Those are the 3 branch chain amino acids, right? We're talking about amino acids. Amino acids make up protein molecules. They're long chains of protein molecules which form peptides, which form protein molecules. Protein molecules are large. Amino acids are the conduits, like the pieces.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we're talking about isolating 3 of them. Essential amino acids is combining all 8 generally, but a high quality product will have 9, but most have 8 essential amino acids. Okay. So the reason that they're called essential is because your body can't create them themselves. Okay.
Right.
So there's 20 amino acids. 9 of them are essential because you can't create them. Right.
But should I take those over the essential oils I've been taking?
Okay, keep vaping your bloody essential oils. But so the reason that people were taking and still take BCAAs because there was a hypothesis years ago in the literature that stated that BCAAs will stimulate muscle protein synthesis, the repair of muscle. Okay, the reason for that is because of valine and leucine, predominantly leucine. Okay, but I'm not going to.
But that research has become not very conclusive.
Well, to avoid getting too in depth and to avoid tripping over myself, because I haven't really reviewed it recently, but here it is in a nutshell. Okay, leucine triggers protein synthesis, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, in your body, if you create that process, if you trigger that process, it doesn't mean that the process will complete.
Right. Yeah.
So if you've just had a very hectic workout and you smash a full thing of BCAAs, your body will start the process of repair. And that has been shown in literature.
Yeah.
But up until recently, what they failed to do is review the process afterwards. Okay. Yeah. So the process does complete, because once your body has started the process, it will finish it. But if you don't have the other essential amino acids available to complete the process, your body will quickly run out, and then it needs those amino acids from somewhere. So what does it do? Your body breaks down your other muscle, to complete that process and repair your damaged muscle, if you will.
Right.
Okay, your micro-teared muscle.
So then
You're robbing Peter to pay Paul inside your own body.
Based on that, if I was to stop listening to this episode now, that makes me think like BCAAs are a scam.
Well, yeah, they are.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
In a nutshell, they have their place. Okay, if
in a correctly structured nutrition program,
they can be very, very beneficial, particularly if you combine them with something like whey protein. Right? If you combined BCAAs with a whey protein source, well, you're getting most of your amino acids from the whey protein, and then that BCAAs is like a sucker punch, like it just smashes your body into that process of repair, right? Because of leucine.
Yeah.
Leucine is pretty much the primary driving protein behind triggering your muscle protein synthesis.
But to keep it simple for the layman, because it's, I have a feeling if you're getting information out of this episode, right, that you don't know, or information that you need the simple version. Like, I'm understanding
Avoid
this
BCAAs.
as exactly.
Straight up,
I'm
don't waste your
understanding
money.
this. If you're getting to the point where you would be needing BCAAs, you probably need to be like consulting with a professional nutritionist and stuff.
That.
Otherwise, you wouldn't need it.
Just avoid them. Like, they're a waste of money.
All
Take whey protein instead.
So
EAAs are different though. EAAs are essential amino acids. Okay, so we're not talking about isolating 3 of the essential aminos with branch chain aminos. They're just 3 of the 9, right? We're talking about getting 9, all 9.
Yeah.
Now, if you take essential amino acids, it's still going to contain leucine. And remember, I keep saying that leucine is the primary amino acid that is, it's not the only, but it's the primary amino acid that is driving that trigger of protein synthesis, muscle protein synthesis, okay? So if you take EAAs, not only will you get all the same benefits that you would get from BCAAs because you're still having that leucine trigger that process. However, you have all the other essential amino acids there available to complete the process. Okay. Yeah. So it's able to supplement, if you will, the food, the protein that you're consuming, the amino acids you're consuming are complete. It has everything you need to start the process and then finish it. It's not going to fuck you over like BCAAs.
You can take essential amino acids and then like not need to take protein powder. Like that can be, or
sure. Yeah. They have their different uses.
But I'm guessing they're more expensive.
Oh yeah. And the reason that people stick with BCAAs is because they're cheap. Cheaper. And they're like, oh yeah, it's cheap, you know, but there's still, it adds up. Like for a bucket, it's like $50 Australian, right? And that will get you through about a month.
Yeah.
You know, you're wasting your money. And in some cases, particularly if you're having it without having eaten food as well, it can have the negative effect. It can break down your muscle, like I explained. And there's been literature that shows that. So if, you know, most of the big names in the industry, unless they're selling BCAA, so that's something to be very careful about, they recommend against taking BCAAs. Everyone's saying they're a waste of money, they're a sham, like, and they're one of the most popular supplements still to this day. It's kind of like, you know, yelling out into, you know, space. No one's fucking listening, right? It's
Well, people
it's pissing into the wind.
Our 3 listeners won't be buying no BCAAs.
Yeah, your mum and my friend. So EAAs are good to go, but they are more expensive. Okay, so look, if you don't,
but if you're balling, buy some.
If you're balling, and you know, look, honestly, if you're balling, fuck it, go for it, and have them during workout with some electrolytes. You're good to go.
All right.
Fuck me, that's
just muscle.
That's just muscle, but that's probably the most significant and you know what people are most interested in. Now let's get into performance. Okay,
how do I boost my performance?
Yeah,
caffeine. We've spoken about this a lot, right? And I think it was only caffeine kind of comes up a lot because we tend to, before every episode, make a coffee, and you know, and there's been copious amounts of studies that have proven caffeine enhances performance. I briefly asked the question, is it an illegal substance in like IOC competitions? And you said yes, but the level you would have to take is absurd, so it's not really. So caffeine, people know a lot about caffeine, coffee, whatever. It's obviously something I don't think you need to explain. It's obviously something you would take pre-workout, right?
Yes, definitely take pre-workout. And the most beneficial form of caffeine for athletic performance is
those tablets, right?
Caffeine tablets, or like a powder. It's a bit
Are they expensive here?
No, they're super cheap. Oh man, they're dirt cheap. Like you can get a fucking like 6 months or even a year's supply of supplemental caffeine for like $20 Australian.
Yeah, right. If you weren't having that, like, I mean, I think most people would agree that having a coffee in the terms of like a cappuccino or something, I mean, if you wanted to, I guess you could have it pre-training, but I think most people, you know, you got that milkiness in your belly.
Yeah, like you can have like a shot, like a long black, and that's fine. But remember
what about the energy drinks?
I'd recommend, look, they work. They do improve athletic performance. And there's been copious amounts of research done on energy drinks because, you know, it's funded by the energy drink companies. Because if they could get a
lot of papers are funded by the people who are wanting to prove something.
Yeah, right? Exactly. And it makes sense, and it does, you know, improve science. The only issue is when they don't publish negative results. That's a big issue in science at the moment. But
energy drinks, that's a whole nother thing to talk about, the health side effects of energy drink. I mean, I don't think you have to be a genius to know it's not a healthy product.
Yeah, but let's talk
in terms
about
of a caffeine dose, right?
Well, yeah, it makes sense, right? So if you're drinking an energy drink that contains around 200 milligrams of caffeine, and it contains, around 40 to 60 grams of carbohydrate, yeah, that's going to improve your athletic performance.
Is that because you need carbohydrates with caffeine for it to be?
Not necessarily, but it's like getting simple carbs and caffeine together. That potent combo improves your athletic performance because you have carbohydrates, simple carbohydrates ready to go for energy, right? So it's like increasing your glucose availability for energy.
And is when people say they take a pre-workout, is that essentially just an expensive version of caffeine, or do they have? Yeah, I mean, again, there'd be a million different brands of pre-workouts. No, you just nailed it.
It's an expensive version of caffeine. And
so, would you ever?
We'll talk about pre-workouts now. It's on the list. It's the three that I'm going to talk about: caffeine, electrolytes, and pre-workout. So when we're talking about pre-workouts, you're talking about store-bought, off-the-shelf, ready to go, pre-mixed powders. They have all the flavors. Your C4s, your Jack 3Ds, those type of supplements. They're pre-workouts, right? So the most common ingredients, no one fucking reads the labels, but the most common ingredients in pre-workouts, they all have caffeine at varying levels. Most of them have creatine, but it's way underdosed. You talk like it'll have
it's not a supplement for your creatine.
No. Yeah. But they'll have like 1 gram of creatine, right? Yeah. But like we said, you need 5. So it's underdosed. Yeah. They generally have
but
beta.
Some people say you can only absorb 1 gram at a time.
I'll smack you.
Sucked in. I was listening.
So yeah, creatine. They'll have caffeine. They'll have creatine. They'll have something called beta-alanine. Now, beta-alanine gives you that what's known as paresthesia feeling. So for the listener, you probably haven't taken a pre-workout before. Maybe you have.
Man, I took one in. I remember. I think it was. What'd you say? Jack something?
Jack 3D.
I think it was that. I had.
Did it give you all tingles?
Brazil. Dude, I thought I was going to have a stroke. I hated it. I took it before comp training in Brazil, and I didn't know that pre-workouts also had caffeine in them. I didn't know anything about them, right?
I'll take this random thing from this random person.
So I would have already had a coffee or something.
So you're peaking.
Before training, and then I had a pre-workout, and I remember just feeling, man, like weird and tingly and just I hated it.
So let me explain what those tingles are. So that's coming from beta-alanine. So beta-alanine is an amino acid. Beta-alanine does improve your athletic performance. There is solid science on it, and look, it's not on my list, and it's not on my list for a reason. It's one of those supplements that the cost versus benefit is not really there to recommend to general people. If you're balling and you fucking, you have supplements coming out your ass and you're going to drop your BCAAs for something else, then pick up beta-alanine. Beta-alanine in pre-workouts is a little bit silly when you understand how the supplements are actually worked and dosed. Now, the reason that they put beta-alanine in supplements is pretty obvious because of that tingling feeling. That tingling feeling is simply a side effect from beta-alanine. Beta-alanine, that tingles that comes with it does not improve your athletic performance, time dependent, right?
You know what? It almost makes me think that they put it in there
to make you think that it's working.
Exactly, for a placebo effect, right? So you feel that tingling and you're like, man, I'm like jazzing, I'm popping off like,
Allow me to crush everyone's hopes and dreams out there that relies on pre-workouts and uses them regularly. So beta-alanine does not need to be taken pre-workout for it to work. It's very similar to creatine insofar as you need to saturate with beta-alanine for it to actually work. Right?
So I'm understanding that pre-workouts, I'm putting them in my basket with BCAAs, that they're like essentially a bit of a scam.
They are,
I may as well just have caffeine.
Yes.
For my pre-workout.
Yeah, you may as well make your own. I used to make my own pre-workouts. And the problem with pre-workouts is that all of the additional stuff that you're paying top dollar for is underdosed. Beta-alanine is a prime example. The maximum amount of beta-alanine you will find in a pre-workout is around 2 grams. And those pre-workouts are the really strong ones that will make you feel like your face is on fire or whatever. And that's because of the beta-alanine, right? It's not because it's like, it's hyping me up. No, that you get that tingling feeling no matter when you take beta-alanine, and it doesn't give you any energy.
Yeah.
And it fucking grinds my gears when I hear people talking about it and like, oh, have you tried this pre-workout? It's called Total War. Makes you feel like your face is going to melt. It's so good. It's like, yeah, bro, that's paracesia, beta-alanine. Like, do your fucking research. I get real frustrated. But
I want to go like a little off topic, and I don't know if you'll know the answer to this question or not, but I have no idea. So there used to be a very popular drug, like illegal drug here in Australia.
Called meth.
Yeah. That known as either speed or goey or an 8-ball, right? I actually I have no idea. Like, I know what it does. It like gives you heaps of energy and blah, 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 blah.
It's an amphetamine.
But what is that? Like, it's not caffeine, right?
It's amphetamines.
So what's happening in your, like, could you, in theory, like, if you're taking illegal supplements, do people take doses of that as a pre-workout?
There was a air quotes supplement. There was a chemical in very popular pre-workouts way back in the day that was a derivative of an amphetamine. I think the original, like people like the OG guys, this is a mad thing in the bodybuilding world, right? It's like 20 years ago, some pre-workouts when they first hit the market, they did have derivatives of amphetamines in them.
Yeah,
and then the OG guys like, oh, you should have tried the original Jack 3D. Like you should have tried the original fucking this and that.
But you can't really blame them, right? Because
they were amphetamines, They did have amphetamines.
They may not have known, like, and what I mean by that is, well, the original Coke had cocaine in it.
Exactly.
Or even when you go back to the early days of steroid use in bodybuilding, it was like steroids were new. Like they hadn't become a banned substance yet.
Yeah, exactly.
So why wouldn't you take them?
Yeah.
Like let's say hypothetically something, we're talking about creatine. Imagine if in 30 years the IOC bans creatine for whatever reason, right? Hypothetically.
Yeah.
And then, people would be looking back going like, I can't believe you guys used to take creatine. It's like, 100%. Well, it was just a supplement. It wasn't banned, right? Like, why wouldn't you take it if everyone was telling you this improves performance? It's not against the rules. It's, healthy because all the research shows it, like you would take it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And to some extent, that was the same with steroids and stuff. Like, when they first came out,
all
the research wasn't there, and people are telling you, man, this will make you bigger and stronger. Take steroids.
Gimme.
Why wouldn't you take them, right?
Yeah. So to answer your question, it used to be in pre-workouts, but just to circle back, basically we covered the most common ingredients in pre-workouts are caffeine and beta-alanine.
And you don't need beta-alanine.
You do if you want to supplement with it, but buy it in its bulk form and supplement with it at the correct dose. Because only the very expensive and the very niche pre-workouts will have 2 grams of beta-alanine, which isn't even the minimum dose, by the way. It's 3 to 5 grams. Around about that 3 grams is the sweet spot. So if you want to supplement with beta-alanine, buy it in bulk from an online supplement bulk store and supplement with about 3 grams.
So for the average person who's never taken supplements before and they're wanting to learn, what am I need to purchase supplements? A pre-workout is not one of them.
Exactly. Unless you're taking creatine and you've considered EAAs, don't even look at beta-alanine yet. So you need to be taking creatine. Like, spend your money on creatine first.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why I created that tier list that I sort of mentioned is to point people in the right direction to where to spend the money.
You've got to be doing this and this before you bother with this.
Then move to tier 2. Once you've covered off all the big ticket items in tier 2, then you can move to tier 3, etc.
Yeah.
So creatine is tier 1 being like the best. Okay. So
electrolytes.
I'm still in pre-workout.
We're still in pre-workout.
Yeah. There's a lot of other ingredients in pre-workouts that, they just look in a nutshell. Pre-workouts, the main component and the reason that it improves your workout is because of the caffeine. Everything else is underdosed, and you're not really getting the benefits from it anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. Unless you're like double scooping everything, but then you're getting too much caffeine. If you want the benefits from pre-workout, here's my recommendation: be taking creatine anyway, but make sure you're taking creatine. Grab a tablet form of caffeine and just add beta-alanine in whenever you take your creatine. That's the best time to take it if you want the benefits from beta-alanine. But in general, yes, they will improve your performance because of the caffeine. If you don't give a shit and you're balling and you have the money and you like your pre-workout, keep doing it. It's fine. Whatever. It's not going to be bad for you. Just know that you're being underdosed on pretty much everything you're paying for.
Especially if you get the good, like Jack 3D manufactured in 1982, and you're like, yeah, it's got the good shit.
Yeah. So let's cover electrolytes, okay? Electrolytes.
As which most people know as Gatorade.
Yeah, well, Gatorades have electrolytes in them. Well, there was like a movie where, forget the name, but this dude like fell asleep in front of his TV and he went forward in the future and like they tried to water all the plants with Gatorade because electrolytes. Plants need electrolytes. I forget the name of the movie. Someone, please, if you know the name, message me because I saw it when I was a kid and it's ridiculous. It's one of those stupid movies. Anyway, so electrolyte powders. Now, yeah, most people will understand these as like that's what's in Gatorade, that's what's in Powerade, and all your other branded sports drinks. Basically, we're talking about minerals and sodium here. So most electrolyte powders have magnesium, potassium, and sodium. Those are the three main active ingredients in electrolyte powders. And then your Gatorades, your Powerades, and things like that, and even some electrolyte powders you can buy at supplement stores that have carbohydrates as well. So a simple form of glucose. So those are your four. Think carbs, sodium, magnesium, potassium. A combination of those four. The reason that we recommend that jiu-jitsu practitioners supplement with electrolytes or consider supplementing with electrolytes is because of how much you fucking sweat doing jiu-jitsu. Like if you've done a hectic hour-and-a-half session with mostly rolling, after it, you are drenched in sweat. So you're losing a lot of minerals and sodium in your sweat. So
that isn't, and minerals and sodium that just isn't in water.
Exactly.
But then, so why is it? So performance. This is during your workout.
Yeah, during this is what we call intra workout or during your workout session. Yeah.
So it's So would you then? Okay, it's hard to try to not, I guess a lot of the answers to the questions will be, it depends if you're following a nutrition program, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But, again, we're just trying to be super simple. So would your advice be, you're all good during a session, we're talking about jiu-jitsu, not bodybuilding, during a session.
Oh, you wouldn't need it for bodybuilding.
Gatorade's good. Don't worry that there's a shit ton of sugar in it because you're the average person, average health, average fitness, but you're training a lot. Gatorade or electrolyte powder forms or whatever are great because they're going to replenish the minerals that you lose through sweat.
Yes.
And you just sweat so much.
Yes,
in
agreed.
jiu-jitsu.
Gatorade, Powerade, all of that, all of those sports drinks within reason. To have one during a hectic session is perfectly fine. And if not, recommended.
So is it advised that you take it during because you obviously lose those minerals when you sweat in real time?
Yes.
But are they like the Gatorade or electrolytes are absorbed quick enough to replenish them so you can keep working out?
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Exactly. So it's
that
recommended.
cycle is quite short.
Yeah, exactly. And the carbohydrates. Don't forget the carbohydrates. Very like simple sugars, perfect during hard sessions. And there's actually a formula you can figure out to figure out how much carbohydrate and electrolyte powders with the different ratios you need during a session. And like endurance runners, they utilize this. So it's like X amount of grams of carb per kilogram per hour of exercise, per fucking minute of this and that. So there are, I used to have I still do. I have all the formulas written out and how to calculate exactly that. But in a nutshell, if you have a Gatorade or equivalent during a hectic session, you'll be good to go.
Is a hydrolyte an equivalent?
Yeah, hydrolyte's the same. But you got to be aware that some of those electrolyte powders don't have carbohydrate, and in this case, we're actually looking to get the carbohydrate because it's going to improve your athletic performance.
Dude, after this episode comes out, my fridge sales, my Gatorade sales at the gym, going to go through the roof.
Yeah. The problem that people have with Powerades, Gatorades, and all those branded Maximate or whatever that fucking new one is people just drink them like lolly water when they're not exercising. Yeah. Right? You just, instead of grabbing a water, instead of whatever, having, a healthy drink, if you will, they'll just grab a Powerade because they think, it's sports performance. Yeah, this will be good. But you're just smashing all that sugar.
Yeah.
That sugar is a good thing during your session because it's fueling your session. But if you're not working out hard, like you could be training hard, and if you're not working out at all, like you're literally just drinking lolly water. That's with a bunch of potassium, magnesium, and sodium. and you don't need all that sodium. You don't need all that sugar when you're not working out.
Yep.
But when you are, it's good. So I utilize electrolyte powders. But if you're just lifting weights or whatever, you don't really need electrolytes. Nah.
All right, let's move it along because I'm looking at the clock, and I don't mind this being a long episode, but fucking got shit to do, bro. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, Roger. Sorry, guys. Adam's busy.
I got better shit to do, like sit on the couch and watch YouTube. No.
Let's talk about recovery.
Yeah, recovery. So this is
quick fire
probably
we have two more to get through.
This is probably the one that I think people could sort of instantly feel benefit from. I think recovery for jiu-jitsu guys is one of it's the easiest to neglect because once your workout's over, you're like, oh, I'm done.
Yeah.
But it's the one that if you implement even a subpar recovery plan, like you kind of instantly, like as in the next morning, can feel the benefits.
Yeah.
Right.
And I will say that some supplements that I've already mentioned from muscle and performance
can aid recovery. But these ones are just in the recovery. So don't think creatine's not going to help your recovery. Don't think EAAs and protein powders are not going to help your recovery. That's ridiculous if that's what they're designed to do. But they're, these are ones that are specific
for recovery.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have three here: magnesium, zinc, and vitamin D.
So it's good that you said magnesium because that was when you said at the start that if you only remember one thing from this episode, it's take creatine, blah, blah, blah.
I stand by that.
And I'm not going to sit here and argue with you. Me as my experience is just someone who has trained for a long time but doesn't have any degrees in this. The one supplement that I take all the time and I feel better when I take it is magnesium.
Yeah. But do you take creatine right now?
Man, I have it sitting up on my top shelf. I haven't taken it for ages. Yeah.
Take creatine, son.
I'll go get it.
It'll take it for like 4 weeks to get the benefits.
I'll probably look at it and I'll be like, what was the one you said to the I don't know, it was probably, what was the one you said not to?
BCAAs? No, creatine, micronized creatine?
Yeah. Oh, no, you said that's good. It's just more expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's talk about magnesium. So do you know, okay, I'll just give it this to you. Magnesium is the second most common deficiency in the first world. Do you know what the first most common deficiency is?
Dollars. No.
Definitely
happiness. Hang on. I'll get this. Equality.
Oh.
No. What is it? What's the biggest?
Vitamin D. So out of these three, I've taken the top two is magnesium and vitamin D. So let's start with magnesium. So the reason that this is on recovery is because depending on the form of magnesium that you take, which I'm not really going to get into, I'll just mention two of them. It helps with your sleep. It helps as a muscle relaxant. That's why people have magnesium salt baths because it's a muscle relaxant. So it's really good to unwind after jiu-jitsu, right? So if you take
if you're listening to this and you've ever had one of those hard training sessions, and a lot of people train at night, right? Because after work, and then you go to bed and you've got that restless feeling and it's kind of you can't get comfortable and tossing and turning and stuff. That's often would be due to a lack of magnesium, right?
Yeah, magnesium can definitely help. So it's a muscle relaxant. It assists with sleep. Like it's kind of like a sleep aid. And most people are deficient in magnesium. And chances are if you're not supplementing with magnesium, sorry to break it to you, but you probably are deficient to a certain extent in magnesium. So it's really good to supplement with it. Not all magnesium comes in the same form and the same.
You can get tablets, you can get powders.
You can get powders.
You said, you can get the bath salt.
Yes, you can get bath salts, which counts because you're
absorbed through your skin.
Your skin
right?
is like a mouth. It absorbs anything that you put onto it. So anything.
I just buy a BJJ Fanatics DVD, rub it on my arm. Ooh, yeah, get those skills.
Yeah, you would. So magnesium, the two most common supplemental forms of magnesium is magnesium citrate and magnesium malate. Now, it's just what magnesium is coupled with to make it stable to put it into a supplement, okay? So it's different forms of magnesium, right? The most common you're going to find is citrate. If you go to a chemist or a supplement store or wherever you get your supplements from, or even like, in Australia, Coles and Woolworths are two big supermarkets. They all have like a supplement section, and I know like Walmart and States do as well. every single bottle, you read the back of the label of magnesium, it's going to say magnesium citrate. The reason is it is the cheapest form of magnesium you can get. However,
is this another one of those cases that it doesn't really matter if you've got the dollars, malate's good, but
citrate,
otherwise,
yeah. If you got the dollars, citrate is better than nothing. But if you've got them, take malate. I recommend taking malate.
Just absorbs a little bit better.
Yeah, it's high quality. And look, you can literally do full podcasts just on magnesium because there are some out there. There was a really good one by the Ben Greenfield Fitness podcast. He's got a couple with some magnesium experts. Believe it or not, they do exist. And they talk about all the different forms of magnesium. Personally, I go with a citrate malate blend. So I'm getting the two most common forms of magnesium, and they have slightly different benefits. So if you got the dollars, look at malate. If you don't, just get citrate. It's fine. Or if you want, get a citrate malate blend. For those that are interested, the one I take is by a company named Thorne. It's THORNE. I have no financial affiliation with them. I wish I did, but they're very, very high quality supplement brand, and I stand by pretty much everything they make.
And magnesium is one that's similar to creatine in the sense that you should just be taking it every day, all the time.
Because think about it like a deficiency, right? You're not going to take one tablet and snap your fingers. You're going to be good to go. No, it's a little bit different from that. So it is something that you want to be taking consistently. Now, the dosages depends on the type of magnesium it is, but honestly, I highly recommend just reading the back of your supplement bottle and just sticking with the recommendations there. If you want to get into the science and you want to like nerd out on it, go for it. But if not, just stick to the recommendation on the bottle. Okay.
Vitamin D.
Yep, vitamin D.
That's what you said
the
is
first most common deficiency in the first world.
Am I wrong? Vitamin D, I feel like I'm going to sound super stupid right now. Is vitamin D the one that people say like, go out, get some sun, you need some vitamin D?
Yeah, 100%.
You can get from the sun, right? But
so vitamin D is not a vitamin. It's actually a hormone.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
interesting.
So there's a bit of trivia for you.
Yeah.
So I don't know why I got the name vitamin D, but it is a hormone. Okay. And it is naturally produced in the body, and it is triggered by sun exposure. So you need sun exposure to get vitamin D, right?
So why is it the highest deficiency?
Because you don't go outside. Like straight up, if you were someone like a laborer and you worked outdoors with your shirt
like
off,
bricky or something,
you're bricky, whatever, you're a carpenter or something like that.
Or you're a surfer or something.
But you're always out, shirt off, getting all those sun rays. You don't need to supplement with vitamin D. But the chances are you don't and you do, right? You don't get enough sun and you do need to supplement. Yeah. In the winter months as well, it's pretty beneficial to supplement with vitamin D.
Yeah.
Okay, so
because it's your skin that needs to be exposed to the sun.
Exactly. Yeah. So the more skin, the better. So if you just go out, in your
mankini, here I come.
Well, that's the thing, right? If you spend heaps of time outdoors in winter, but only your face and your hands are exposed, you're not really getting much sun exposure, are you?
Yeah.
Like it's just your face and hands. I do need a caveat with the whole vitamin D thing. I cannot, in good conscience and legally, recommend people supplement with vitamin D without recommending you get your bloods done, consult with a physician first, because it can be a little bit dangerous, right? Yeah. Well, yeah, but it can be a little bit dangerous to supplement with vitamin D. The reason is it's a fat-soluble vitamin, okay? So in the body, vitamin D is a hormone, but it is a vitamin when you supplement with it, right? So I just want to clarify that. So the fat-soluble vitamins are A, D, E, and K. So vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, and vitamin K. Those are the fat-soluble vitamins, which in contrast, if you want to know water-soluble vitamins, there's vitamin C and vitamin B are water-soluble vitamins, right? So the difference is that vitamin B and vitamin C need water to be absorbed into your body, okay?
And
you're made of water, so it's fine. And the others need fat to absorb it into your body. Vitamin D is one of those that needs fat. So if you're supplementing with vitamin D, ensure that you take it around the time you're eating fats, to ensure that it absorbs. I can't
just be fat. That would be easier.
It would be easier. And yeah, not going to say any more on that. So make sure you take it with food that contains fats to be safe. Also, if you overdose, which you can on vitamin D, it builds up in your body and it becomes toxic, right?
Yeah, right.
So don't just take it. Don't think more is better in this case. That's why I said in good conscience, I can't recommend people take it without consulting with a physician. Don't be scared of it. It's perfectly fine. But if you don't really want to do all that and you just want to get, okay, what do I need to do? Take about 2,000 IUs, international units of vitamin D per day, and you're generally good to go. I wouldn't really exceed 2,000.
Or if you're then even more worried, just go out in the sun.
Sure.
Right.
If you can. You may live somewhere where you can't do that. Like you know, if you live in, if you live in Scandinavia right now, because they only get like 3 or 4 hours of sun a day. Whenever I go to Sweden, which I am going to Sweden in December, I'm definitely supplementing with vitamin D the whole time. And I do every time I go. So the form of vitamin D that you want, you can get it in tablets, but I personally take a dropper version, which is made by Thorne. I wouldn't cheap out on vitamin D.
What are the problems that you can have when you when you have a vitamin D deficiency?
Yeah, so basically,
like why do we need it for recovery specifically?
Yeah, so it's going to assist with your hormones, right? And it also assists with your cell membranes. So vitamin D is contained within your cells, and it also helps with production of things like testosterone, which is what zinc does as well. So these vitamins, when you have a deficiency in these vitamins, it affects your natural hormone profile and other processes in the body. So there's a whole bunch of metabolic processes that rely on things like zinc, that rely on things like vitamin D and magnesium. Yeah. Okay. So when you run out of those,
you just mess the whole cycle.
you interfere with the entire chain. Maybe there's a 100-step process, and on step 77, it relies on having an X amount of zinc. And if it doesn't have that, it gets stuck at that process step, right? Yeah. So that's it in a very, very basic nutshell. Okay, so then lastly is zinc. Very common to be deficient in zinc. Again, I don't know where it sits in the rankings, but I dare say it would be in the top 5. So zinc, in a nutshell, people know it as the vitamin that supports your immune system, which it does. It does support your immune system, but it also supports your testosterone production for men. And funnily enough, if you, this is going to sound very crass, but if you ejaculate a lot, chances are you have a zinc deficiency. Like straight up. If you're listening to this and you're like 16, 17 and you're going through that phase where you're fucking spanking the meat like 3 times a day, chances are you should be supplementing with zinc, because you do lose quite a bit of zinc in your spunk when you ejaculate.
Is zinc another one that you would want to consult with a physician?
Just take it. You can just don't overdose on it.
Yeah,
obviously.
just follow the recommended.
Follow the recommendation. Follow the dosages on the bottle, and go for gold. Okay. So I recommend dosing those together.
And last one that you could argue might be the most important for jiu-jitsu athletes:
joint health.
Joint health.
I actually have been suffering from this at the moment. And I think I have a bit of inflammation. I haven't fully recovered from that knee injury, and both of my knees are actually quite swollen. Like I have a lot of fluid hanging around, and I think it's inflation. So I'm going to address that.
So what's something simple people can do for ongoing joint health?
Supplementing?
Probably the most well-known one that I'm aware of is glucosamine.
Yes.
Right?
So I have here glucosamine chondroitin. It's a combination.
And I believe it's also a supplement that you kind of just have to you'll continue to take.
Yeah. Caveat here. I've never personally supplemented with glucosamine chondroitin before. It's a combination of 2 supplements together. Now, the reason I have it on my list, which I'm trying not to be hypocritical here, like I haven't taken it, but I am recommending it if it's, I recommend you do your own research and due diligence. But basically
Kieren's got to get paid, and he's got
to get paid, baby.
He's got sponsors to keep happy. And
this podcast is brought to you by the good people at Glucosamine. So it has been researched in osteoarthritis clinical population, and it has been shown to be very beneficial. Now, I do need to be very clear here. There is not any robust literature in sport population. So not everything that it works in clinical populations transfers to an athletic population, okay? And not everything that works in your general population works for athletic population, and vice versa. So when you're looking into research, you need to carefully consider what was the group of people that this was conducted on, okay? So it doesn't, there's not always a transfer, but there is some solid research around osteoarthritis supporting that joint health. Is this why you know of it?
Well, glucosamine is, I've had 2 knee surgeries, glucosamine, and the other thing I can see that's written on there that you've got is fish oil, which have both been recommended to me.
Spoilers, bro.
Yeah. So my mum as well has chronic rheumatoid arthritis.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, is like the super aggressive version of arthritis. And so glucosamine, fish oil, cortisone, prednisone, right? All these, I mean, cortisone and prednisone are prescription medications.
Yeah, you can't get
at least here in Australia. I don't know what it's like in the rest of the world.
You're in Mexico?
But these are all things to do with for joints, right?
Yes.
And if you don't know anything about arthritis essentially is, chronically messes with your joints.
Yeah. A disease that attacks your joints effectively.
Yeah.
So look into that if it's of concern, particularly if you're recovering from an injury or surgery or something like that. It's probably been recommended. Now, next one is fish oil. Not only does this,
I'll tell you a funny story about fish oil. Well, you're going to think it's funny. I fucking hated it. When I was, I don't know, early 20s or something, I went over to my friend's house and he was like, "Oh, have you had fish oil tablets before? Like they're good for blah, blah, blah." Like, "No, I never heard of them," et cetera, et cetera. And my friend was like, I was like, "What do you do with it?" Like, I didn't know anything. And I think at this stage, my only exposure to any sort of vitamins or supplements or anything was those, like vitamin C tablets that your parents would give you that you would chew.
That tastes like candy.
Yeah, they essentially taste like candy. Like it was like a lolly pretty much, right? And he was like, "Yeah, they're like vitamin C tablets. You chew them." And I was like, "Oh yeah," chucked it in my mouth, bit down, and this fish oil tablet just exploded in my mouth. And it was the rankest thing. Like, bro, my friend was just pissing himself laughing at me. And I was like, I just had like gross fish oil in my mouth. So
don't do that.
Don't chew fish oil tablets.
So in a nutshell, fish oil is good for a lot of things, predominantly your brain health, your eyes, and your joints. So supplementing with fish oil is a good idea. Effectively, we're looking at getting your omega-3s.
Would this be, if you were someone who had an incredibly high seafood diet, would you be getting enough fish oil?
Potentially, yeah.
Like a lot of
some people, a Mediterranean diet probably doesn't need to have a whole lot of fish oil supplementation. But generally speaking, the people that we're talking to, it's something that you can consider. And again, if you took everything on this list, the fucking bill is going to rack up. So pick and choose what's relevant to you. If joints are an issue for you, I recommend looking at a high quality fish oil. And again, look, this one's kind of frustrating because there's a lot of fish oils on the market, but a lot of them are considered rancid, meaning like they go bad by the time you take them, and they can be counterintuitive. They can actually cause inflammation rather than quell inflammation, which is what they generally do. So just be aware that, it's basically the money in, money out, like the amount of within reason. Like the higher quality fish oil is going to be a lot more beneficial. So if you're going to take fish oil, then I'd recommend looking at a more high quality source. And I don't know if this is true or if this is just marketing from certain companies, but apparently there's a way to test your fish oil. If you put it in the freezer and it comes up cloudy, it's considered rancid. I think that might be a marketing tactic from some of the, premium fish oils, but I haven't really looked into that more deeply than just having heard it. So yeah, that's something to consider. And the last one for joint health is turmeric. Now, the reason that I put turmeric on joint health is because of inflammation. Now, like I mentioned about my swollen knees at the moment, a big issue for joints is inflammation in the body. Inflammation can be caused by a whole host of reasons, and it's different depending on who you are. But yeah, in a nutshell, if you have issues with joint health, it could be indication that you have a lot of inflammation in your body, and a good way to sort of try and quell that inflammation, first of all, is clean up your diet, get rid of the sugars, get rid of a lot of the processed foods. You do that, it's going to go a long way, and being careful with how much sodium you're consuming as well for fluid retention. But turmeric is a good way to assist with inflammation in the body.
How would you advise taking that? Because there's obviously the spice that you use in cooking.
Yeah, look, I honestly
turmeric tablets.
You can get turmeric tablets, turmeric gummies, and shit like that. I recommend going online and don't buy it from like the spice shelf at like your supermarket, right? And same with cinnamon. If you're supplementing with cinnamon, which it's not on the list, and we can talk about that later, but don't just buy it like turmeric off the spice rack and fucking supplement that. It's a different form of turmeric, okay? That's for cooking and that's for flavor and spice. Don't look at that. Look at a high quality turmeric powder online. Or if you have the money, you can go and supplement, buy a supplement, but it's going to be more expensive and it does the same shit anyway. Just get a high quality powder and literally just chuck it in water and drink it. Don't be a pussy. Like, one thing I don't get about, look, I'm just going to end it here. One thing I don't understand about people that don't take supplements because of the taste. Like, I've had people say to me, oh, I don't take creatine because I don't like the taste. First of all, it doesn't taste like anything. Second of all, why are you being a bitch?
Yeah.
Like, I will fucking
just
drink.
throw it down.
I will throw down, like, I will drink just about anything. Like, I don't care about the taste so long as it gives me the benefit. Like, it is literally less than 10 seconds of your life.
Yeah.
If you're not willing to drink something that tastes like shit for the benefit that it gives you, then fuck me, dude.
Yeah.
Like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
So yeah, with turmeric, you can have it in food. You can use it in cooking if you like the taste. I particularly not a big fan of the turmeric flavor. I've just overdone it over the years, so I'm kind of off it. But I will put it in when I am supplementing with turmeric, or turmeric, however you want to pronounce it. I'll put it in just warm water with my creatine or whatever, and just smash it down.
All right. So if you've made it this far,
congratulations.
Congratulations. I'll give a quick summary, but if you have any outstanding questions, just submit them to the show, and whether it comes up in a Q&A episode or if it is, we answer it at a different time. But so if you're really if you want to grab a pen and paper now, if you've made it this far and you're thinking, oh my God, there was so much information, I'm going to have to re-listen to the episode, blah, blah, blah. But if you just want something, you can do that. Otherwise, briefly, if we're talking about for your muscles, creatine is your go-to. Put creatine in your diet or your supplement diet, right? Monohydrate, best bang for your buck, creatine, right? We got protein powders, lots of different protein powders. It's a food supplement, but if you want some protein, WPI is awesome. Whey protein isolate, bit more expensive. Otherwise, you got WPC, which is whey protein concentrate, which is also fine, right? The one you can ignore is casein, right? Ignore that for now. After that, we had for performance, we looked at pre-workouts. Again, I'm just giving a brief overview. You can get rid of your pre-workouts. You want caffeine for a pre-workout, caffeine tablets or an espresso shot. BCAAs are a scam. Or you've got essential amino acids, which, if you've ticked off the other things on the list, essential amino acids are good, but once again, a bit more expensive. For your recovery, right? Magnesium, you want yourself magnesium, right? There's the mag citrate or citrate or mag malate, right? Which are both pretty good. Again, one's a bit more expensive. You personally take a combination of the both. Vitamin D is also important. However, it is one that you can overdose on, and we're not going to sit here and recommend you go take vitamin D if you may have a vitamin D deficiency, but it's actually a hormone, not a vitamin, and it can mess with things. So it's safe, but don't overdo it. You might want to consult with a physician, right, if you're worried. And then lastly, joint mobility. Glucosamine is great. Fish oil is great. Turmeric is great, right? They're going to help with your joint health. And this is, again, I said, I know about this not just from my surgeries, but my mum having chronic rheumatoid arthritis. These are things that she takes all the time, and different doctors from around the world have recommended this to her. So, I think it's quite well studied. But like you said, glucosamine itself, there's not a huge amount of research on it as a supplement for athletes. It's more for things like arthritis. But anyway, it's not like it's a dangerous supplement, glucosamine. 100%. And don't chew your fish oil tablets.
Please don't.
So I think that's, if you just listen to that sort of last 5 minutes and took down notes on that, the bill, if you take all this shit, is going to be quite expensive. So as Kieren said, take what's relevant to you. If you have bad joints, if you struggle with recovery, or maybe you're someone, there's people who don't drink coffee or take any caffeine. Man, you don't necessarily have to go and take a pre-workout caffeine. Oh, sorry. And I did miss one for performance, your electrolytes, right? Yeah. So essentially your Gatorades to replace your minerals, because we sweat so much. You want to instantly replace that so you can keep working out.
Yeah, 100%.
Right.
There are so many supplements that I have used or I am currently using for athletic performance and recovery and all sorts of things like that aren't on this list. But otherwise, if I mention everything and give everything its,
8-hour episode.
Yeah, we're going to have like multiple hour episodes. So if you have any questions or you want to know about a specific supplement, it's a perfect opportunity. Submit those questions for a Q&A episode, and we'll definitely we'll get to those.
And then just the last thing, this probably just applicable to our Australian listeners. If someone is then going to go, okay, yeah, cool, I'm going to add some supplements into my training or whatever, what website or brand, is there a particular, just one or two names that you would recommend?
There's a few. So depending on what supplement you're getting, for creatine, I recommend ATP Science.
ATP Science.
They're international. Our American listeners and Canadian and wherever, you can get ATP Science. Yep. So their creatine monohydrate is CreaPure. That's why I'm recommending them. So for Australian listeners that just want, something in bulk like beta-alanine, or if you want like a decent protein powder in bulk, bulknutrients.com is decent.
Nutrients.
Yep. And I don't have any affiliation with any of these companies. They're cheap. They're in bulk. They're decent quality. But predominantly they're quite cheap. And for everything like magnesium, zinc, and vitamin D, particularly vitamin D, I recommend Thorne. So that's THORNE. Thorne. I think they're proper names like Thorne Labs or Thorne Science or something like that. If you type in Thorne supplements, you'll see them. They're very high quality. They're third-party tested, a little bit more expensive, but when you're taking something like vitamin D and magnesium and the like, quality does matter. So yeah, if you're going to spend your money on something like magnesium, I recommend getting a high-quality one, and look no further than Thorne.
All right. Well, guys, it felt like a very in-depth episode, but I know that it was really only scratching the surface of supplements. Like you said, that podcast you were listening to had like multiple episodes solely on magnesium.
Yep.
So obviously, there's legit scientists that develop these things, so you could spend a lot of time. But I think that's for people who don't take any supplements and are interested. That's a good episode for you. Man, if you liked it, don't forget to give us a follow and a like on social media platform of your choosing. We're on Instagram, Beyond Jiu-Jitsu_podcasts. If you want to go further, we have our Patreon page. All the links are on our Instagram. But otherwise, next episode 40, the next Q&A, Ask a Black Belt. So stay tuned for that. Until next time.